Welcome back. So I recently stumbled on a new composing technique that I feel is going to become a game changer for me. That is specifically composing using live loops in Logic. There are similar functionalities in other DAWs. I know, of course, Ableton pioneered the idea of live loops a long time ago, and electronic musicians have been using this type of compositional style for a long time. But I don't think people who compose classical music or other types of music, like film music, use this very often. I don't see composers on YouTube, at least, or in other places like that, using non-linear composition. And what do I mean by composing non-linearly? I simply mean not sitting down to write a piece, starting at the beginning and then working your way through to the end. That's one way to write music. It's never really worked well for me, and I think a lot of composers see it as a point of pride that they can do that. I don't at all. What I like to do is take ideas and essentially mix them together in different ways, sort of improvise in a more playful way, and sort of see how a piece can evolve naturally rather than sort of starting with a set idea in mind and then moving my way through. So live loops in Logic allows you to do this very, very seamlessly, and that is how I think I'm going to start composing from now on. And what I did is I started writing a piece last week, and I wanted to walk you through how I went about writing that piece using live loops and sort of walk you through my thought process and what naturally emerged from there. So let's jump in. Okay, so here we are in the live loops view of Logic, and the way you get into live loops is by clicking on this little grid shape here. If you deselect that, it goes back to the session view. You can obviously unselect the session view and bring up the live loops view. So super easy, built right into Logic, available to use at any time if you own Logic. I'm sure, again, other DAWs have a very similar functionality. So what live loops is basically this grid. And what you can do in this grid is input loops. And those loops can be MIDI, they can be audio, they can be drum loops, whatever. And you can move these different loops around the different cells. Each of these vertical rows represents a scene, and that's a terminology I believe that's been borrowed from Ableton. And a scene is a part of a song. It's a section, essentially. So it could be your verse, your chorus, it could be a section of a classical piece. And you can basically play the entire piece at any time by clicking this up arrow here, or you can just play the individual cells. So that's what I did. I just basically started with a loop, and then I just naturally started building layers upon that loop from there. And at any point, you can then copy loops over using just Command R, I believe, to copy a loop to the next scene if you want to just kind of continue to build on the same idea. So let's take a look at a few of these loops. So this is what I started with. So that's just a very simple, like low woodwind static note that I found in Landforms, which is my new favorite patch. We'll probably do a video on that soon. And then I just started building on that idea. So it has kind of a dark feel, so I kind of immediately was thinking like crime, drama, video game, action sequence, something like that. And then I added this next one, which is just the same loop, just to kind of thicken things up a little bit. And then I added a piano line. So really just something to sort of start building out some basic intrigue. And what I really like about this, especially for folks who are kind of more experimental like me, is you can play things out of sequence if you want. So you could, as I just did, play things at different points and sort of see how new ideas can emerge naturally. Or you can just have everything stay perfectly in sync. It's very flexible in that way. And because everything just naturally loops, like if you start a new cell, it's going to naturally just loop after you click stop. Or you click on a scene, it's just going to keep looping. It naturally, for me, helps with my creative workflow versus hindering it, whereas the linear nature of the session view means I have to sort of cut things and move things around if I want to like add a new section or something like that, and I find that to be very disruptive to my workflow. So what I did then is just essentially copied a bunch of these loops over and then added some new ones. So I added like a pad here. And then, yeah, I essentially just kept working my way through the project, building on that idea. And then when I felt like it was naturally time to change, I, would create some kind of a transition and move into the next idea. Or I think at one point in the project, I sort of skipped to the end and went into this sort of chorus thing, and sort of trying to figure out like where is this all leading, and it helped me to sort of start at the end. And so I created a scene based on sort of a more like culminating part of the sequence, and that sounds like this. So what you can do at any point, say if you started with a chorus and now want to figure out how we're going to work our way up to that chorus, or culminating sequence, what you can do is right click and press insert empty scene at any point and just keep adding scenes in between the two parts that you have. And then, we sort of cool down with something like this. So then what you can do once you feel like you have enough to work with to start really, diving in and creating a more linear piece, you just click on the session view, and you can drag things so it's sort of like half and half on your screen like this. And you can go into each scene and you can right click and press insert scene at playhead, and it will insert whatever scene you just clicked wherever your playhead is in the session view. And so what that allows you to do is sort of just copy and paste a la carte style different parts of your piece in whatever order you choose. So if I wanted to just start with my intro and then jump into a chorus and then jump back to that same intro, I could easily do so using that key command. So that's what I did. I basically created an entire piece based on that. And then I found what I naturally wanted to do after I sort of got my main sections in was add different builds and big hits and sound design tools. I even added a few more parts where I felt it was needed. And I think that's naturally going to happen. You probably won't create your entire piece in Live Loops, but it really got me most of the way there so that I had the entire skeleton mapped out by the time I sat down in the session view and started writing. Now on the way out, what I'll do is just play the entire piece for you so you can hear what I came up with. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.
you.